This is a video for the money tracker project. Once you recorded the 4 weeks spending totals on the page, next we're going to create another tab, and we're going to have all the summaries and creating the tables. Okay, so this is what we're going to do for this lab. So I'm going to delete this tab first. So we're going to start from scratch. So first week, of course, we're going to create a tab. I'm going to label it as weekly total. Now, as the ones I had before, I'm going to create tables. I'm going to naming each columns as similar to the previous ones. I'm just going to zoom in. Okay, so similar to the previous one, we have different categories: saving, housing, utilities, food, transportation, medical health, personal, and others. So we're still going to have saving, house, and utility, food, transportation, medical, personal, and others. And then we need a total. Okay, so just make everything nice. I'm going to label them week 1 because we have 4 weeks. Okay. Okay, on the other side, I also want to know the totals for each categories. So I'm going to have the same each categories. I'm going to copy them. And then I'm going to separate them into dollar and percent. Once I set up everything, I'm going to get the information from my daily tracking. Okay, so as I mentioned, everything here is the totals. So week 1, the saving total is going to be first, and you enter equal sign, and then click the daily tracking. The week 1 total for the saving is going to be I4. So click, enter, and you have the dollar sign or the dollar amount here. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for the others. Okay, and then the total is going to be the sum of everything from B3 all the way to B8. Now once I have those, I want to do the same thing. So for week 2 is going to be the same. So I'm just going to quickly finish typing everything. So I just quickly entering all the data here. So I have all the numbers has been typed it into my new tab. Now I just do not like the view of the sign because I want it to be all numbers. So I'm highlighting them and then changing from general to currencies. So everything changed to a number situation. Okay. So now I'm going to do the dollar totals. So this one is just going to be the sum of all those numbers. So I'm just going to drag the same functions. And then total is going to be the sum of all the numbers on the side. Or if you want, you can just same thing drag it all the way to the bottom. I just want to changing the spelling of the grand total. Okay, so once I have the total, now in order for me to find a percentage, I do need to using the dollar amount I have for each category divided by the total. And then change it to percent. Okay, so I kind of want to do the same thing, but the problem is when I drag it, I also changing the problems. What they want to do is continuously dragging the two cells has the same relationship. So what I want to do is I always want to using the total, which is the grand total, the highlighted one. So I'm going to insert dollar signs. Says I'm going to fix this cell. So now if I drag it, copy the same function, I will have the same percentage. Okay. So if I do the same thing, I should get 100%. Now once I have all the numbers entered it, now my question, or now I'm going to do the graphings. So I'm going to do 3 graphs. One is the stacked bar graph, one is bar graph, and another one is the pie chart. So first, I'm going to highlighting my first chart except the totals. And then going to go to insert column. Actually, column. And then on the bottoms, I want the bar graph. I want the stack one. Okay. In this way, I have different categories. I have different colors representing for this different weeks, and I can see them together. I'm just going to changing the titles to stacked total. Okay. Then the second part, the second graph I'm going to make is the bar graph. Is the bar graph, the vertical bar graph. So I'm going to highlight this time, because this time I'm only interested in the totals only. I'm not going to interested in the weeklies anymore. So I'm just going to highlighting the second table I just created, and highlighting from the term saving all the way to the dollar amount for the personal and others. Insert. I'm going to do the clustered column. Okay, in this way I can just clearly see the total for each categories is that it didn't separate it by weeks. But the difference between the first bar graph and the second column graph is pretty much exactly the same, except one is horizontal, one is vertical. So I'm going to call it column total. Okay, and then the third one I'm going to do is the pie chart. So this one I'm going to using the percentage. So I'm still going to highlighting the saving all the way up to the percentage for the personal and others. I'm going to do insert, find the pie chart, do the 2D pie chart. I have everything. Okay, but this one is really nice. I have different colors, but it's missing the percentage. So I'm just going to changing the designs. I think I prefer this one, but it's a little bit too much. This one. I still think this is probably the better ones. I'm just going to move it to some other locations. And just to make it much easier to read, I'm going to move it so it won't overlapping. Okay. This time I probably just do not want the titles. Okay. Okay. So that is the ones you for the columns, the summaries, and then the tables, the graphs we want.